If you were to coordinate as president of
Yes,
this
sir.
country, what will you do to bring the comatose power situation in Nigeria to one that is much, much appreciated, at least, let's begin with 20 hours of electricity for everyone every day?
Look, it's accountability. You have to make people who are responsible for things accountable for them. Take, for example, the discos. The discos are absolutely not accountable to anybody. Meanwhile, the discos are in between the generation and the consumption.
No, they have an NERC, a regulatory body
That
that
is
regulates
true,
them.
but the processes. You see, what does coordination take? Coordination means that you understand that there are several people with several interests, with several responsibilities who must work at a given pace. So the idea is like having an orchestra in music. You get my point? Different instruments, playing different things. You can either get a cacophony or you can get a harmony.
So how do you coordinate them?
The point is this: you pick the right people in, and then you give its accountability. You see, you have to measure. The only way, they say what cannot be measured cannot be managed. If you measure performance on a particular basis, and what you need is to have people who are capable, accountable, and then responsive. It is the responsiveness. Take, for example, how long does it take to write a letter to NERC and get a response? How long does it take to write a letter to Discos and get a response? If you write a letter to Disco complaining about your power, what do they come back with you? Do you have to go there? So responsiveness is a parameter that you can measure. And we are saying that the only way you coordinate, the way you govern, is to be able to measure, to manage. They are not measuring what they are doing. It's not. This beautiful establishment, for example, performances are measured, deliverables are measured. And because you know what one person is doing is feeding into what somebody else is doing. The discourse, for example, should all be PLCs.
Now, let me ask
If you go
Dr.
into their
Pearse,
websites, you can't even find the names of the directors.
because I'm just wondering, Dr. Pearse, if in 2008 we had this response from the House of Representatives, they said that $16 billion spent on the power sector by President Obasanjo was a colossal waste, blaming it on poor budgeting, planning, and lack of proper oversight by relevant bodies. In your view, how far have we advanced in 2008 and the crop of legislators we had then and the ones that we have now? Do you think that they are also not carrying out their oversights to ensure that this power problem is solved once and for all?
It doesn't matter how much oversight you carry out. And Your Excellency, let me tell you, remember we were talking about process and structure. What you are talking about, solving the problem of power, is the process. I think that the real problem is in the structure. Until we have power decentralized, with the generation, transmission, distribution is left to the states, we're going to continually have this problem. This is the reason why the SDP is focused in its constitution on restructuring. It is only when you restructure everything from the power to the economy to politics and make it into a real federal structure where the states have autonomy to deal with their problems on a daily basis. You're not going to solve any problem. This is what is going on now. If the states could control their own power, can you imagine a state like Illinois or California depending on power generation from the federal government? There'll be chaos as there is chaos here today. We're not going to have any improvement in anything we do. The next president will come in and he will be complaining.
You were in the PDP.
About
so why did you not
president
talk to your authorities at the time?
Well, when I was, listen now carefully, when we were in the People's Democratic Party, we supported the whole idea of restructuring. This is why we committed ourselves to the 2014 confab. And the report came out, a lot of recommendations. Unfortunately, This current president, Buhari, has said he doesn't want to read it.
But why
he doesn't want to look at it.
The report came out before the PDP administration ended.
Yes.
So how come none of those recommendations?
When the report came out, this is the reality. This is the truth now. When the report came out a few months before election. Look at where we are now. A year, 2 years before election, the parties start talking about the next election. So when the report came out, Jonathan was focused on how to get reelected. So there was no time really, but government is a continuum.
Are you implying that when elections approach, governance is shelved?
Oh, yes, that's what's going on now.
Fantastic, but the PDP was there for...
It is wrong.
The PDP was there for 16 years. Well, and all that while you were in the PDP.
Okay, let us say the PDP was wrong.
Hold on, but you were in the PDP for...
we were wrong.
Hold on. You were in the PDP
should have
for 16...
implemented the
Dr. Pearse, can I...
Sure.
Were you in the PDP for the 16 years that they were in power?
No.
How many years were you in the PDP? Within that 16 years, PDP was in power?
About 6 years.
About 6 years. So within that 6 years, so that means you were there enough time to have... So how is it that all of these ideas were not pushed forward?
These ideas were already there and were pushed. But please, government is a continuum. When a government comes in and says, I met an empty treasury, and therefore, for 3 years, I've not been able to do anything, that's a cop-out. That is irresponsible talk. You got into government to continue where the other government left off. Let us say PDP did not do what it was supposed to do. Now is the time to do the right thing. So therefore, that's why we're saying now, if a government does not believe in restructuring, whereby we will rectify the iniquities that exist in our system, such as Lagos State, with about 9.6 population, according to the Bureau of Statistics, about the same population as Kano. And Lagos State has 20 local government areas, and Kano has 44. This is the kind of thing that we are trying to correct, so that there will be equity and parity in our system. We are talking about fiscal devolution of power, fiscal restructuring, whereby the natural resources in the states will be used to develop the states and not locked up in the exclusive list, wasting away where people are poor and hungry in the country. And the president says he doesn't want to look at the confirmed report because somebody else prepared it. What kind of a country is this? What kind of a president is this? Are you president of Nigeria or president of Northern Nigeria? This is the problem we have in this administration. And this administration will find out in the next election how unpopular it is. And I'm telling you that anybody, government does not believe in restructuring, has no future in this country.
There are processes in everything that we do, but it seems to suggest that you have some axe to grind with Mr. President. Is that right?
I do.
But why so when he was elected by the Nigerian people, not by you yourself?
The reason is this. The promises he made to the Nigerian people, the reasons why the people voted for him, he has kept none of those promises. Unemployed youths will get a certain stipend, nothing. There will be food for children in the schools, nothing.
But that is happening too.
We will diversify.
As a matter of fact, there's increased to about 7 million children being fed every day.
8 million.
8
24
million.
states.
In how many states?
24 states.
He has not failed in that regard.
It is still woefully underdeveloped.
The diversification into agriculture is still ongoing, and the dividends are paying off.
We have not diversified into agriculture. We are paying
the security in the northern part of the country has also improved. Boko Haram has largely been defeated.
Security has not improved in this country. Let us not deceive ourselves. As one group of terrorists are being curtailed, another group is rising in another direction. There will be no peace in this country until there's justice in the country.
Let me bring us back to
there's no justice
let me bring us back to this
because of the lack of parity.
This 16 billion naira, $16 billion spent in the power sector. If SERAP is saying that we should institute a panel that will look into this and probe it, and led by the CGN, do you think that suffices? Because the CGN himself was appointed by the president.
You see, look, these guys, they create the problem and create the distraction that takes away from the solution. You see, first of all, I've got to agree with the SDP here on restructuring. You get my point. The fundamental issue is the restructuring of this country. And I would like to say that, the difference between, because I must confess too, I was in PDP for 2 years. I contested local government elections there in 2000. But I left, obviously, knowing where it was headed. The same thing why PDP did not restructure the country is the same thing why we're having a problem. The leaders then, Obasanjo, did not believe in restructuring. He only used the opportunity of a constitutional conference to want to extend his tenure. And that is what collapsed the entire, and when you do things like that, they generate distrust in the country. Now you're talking about the 16 billion. Everybody knows that during Obasanjo's term, the last 4 years were a distraction. He was hounding his vice president all over the place. He was looking for who to devour. He was demonstrating himself as king all and be all and know all. And that in itself would not allow, even if you had the 16 billion, you would probably waste quite a bit of it.
Okay.
So which I think is what the President Buhari is saying.
Okay, just hold on.
That the 16 billion didn't amount to much.